Did you know that, like many other gaming communities, Elite Dangerous maintains a pretty active speedrunning community, and in fact, a number of speedrunning communities for a number of different activities that exist in the game. Now, obviously, me being primarily an anti-Xeno commander, I've been involved for a long time in anti-Xeno speedrunning, that is, the speedrunning of Thargoids, which is a discipline in and of itself, and it's pretty complicated like most speedrunning things go. I'll start by saying that there's different leaderboards that the AXI maintains. They're divided first by interceptor type, so there's one for Cyclops, one for Basilisk, one for Medusas, one for Hydra, and then they're divided by size of ship. So there's a small division for ships that fit on a small pad, medium division, same logic, and large division, to make some kind of variety and to also like restrict the meta to sort of like at least 3 different categories, so that it's not a single ship, but it's kind of the best at everything, no matter how you look at it. So, and further, for categories of Basilisk and above, there's special ranks in the AXI Discord for people who hold the top rank in the leaderboards. So there's an incentive to kind of show off, if you want, with a golden ring next to your name if you are one of the commanders who have the leading time in a given category. So my favorite category historically has been the Cyclops. Even though it doesn't give a golden ring, it is the one that I found to be the most fun. Like I love the fact that there's like really quick fights. I've done some like speed running on Basilisk, but that was a long time ago, and I haven't done any reasonable time recently. Speed running Thargoids follows a set of like specific community rules, as most speedrunning activities do. In particular, speedrunning Thargoids is something you're expected to do while individually destroying each heart. So gibbing a Thargoid, that is destroying it before you've destroyed all the hearts, invalidates the run. That's because it's kind of too easy and it's not a challenge. You just show up, you have 6 modified shard cannons, you just press the trigger 6 times and the Thargoid goes boom. So there's really no challenge in kind of speedrunning a Thargoid that way. So because of that reason, we're expecting people to actually destroy individual hearts for a speedrunning submission to count. What is the minimum theoretical time as a result? The minimum theoretical time as a result of interceptor kill is driven by what is called the no exert timer. That is the amount of time between when you destroy a heart and between when the next following heart can be exerted, and that is 10 seconds. So for a Thargoid Cyclops, for example, which has 4 hearts, since it has 4 hearts, there's 3 no exert timers that are set in between those 4 hearts, which means that the minimum amount of time that you can theoretically possibly destroy one while destroying all the hearts is 30 seconds. 40 seconds for Basilisks, 50 for a Medusa, and 70 for a Hydra, although in practice times tend to be higher for a number of reasons, because we're not machines, we're humans, we have reaction times, and we have to actually be able to execute whatever strategy we're pursuing. So let's go through like a stop motion view of like what it is and how does it work in practice. And this is a Corsair build that I'm going to show you in VOC. Let's see if we actually have sound as well. Yep, I capture audio of a run that I did today, which should top the medium class for Cyclops if everything works as intended. So this is a Corsair, and it is a Corsair that is equipped with 4 modified Guardian Shard cannons and 2 pacifier fragmentation cannons. The modified shard cannons are pre-engineered. The 2 pacifiers, which are primarily used to burn through your shield, you'll see in a moment, have rapid fire and screening shell as an experimental. You might say, well, you're using it to burn through shields. Why are you not using incendiary, which actually changes most of your damage to thermal? That would be better, right? Well, kinda. Yes, it might be slightly better, but screening shell, the sort of massive boost in fire rate that screening shell gives rapid fire pacifiers is so high, and the raw DPS is so high, that the damage is actually pretty similar. And I find screening shell passes to be a lot more consistent in terms of the ability of them to sustain damage. So I personally prefer them, but again, your mileage may vary. And furthermore, all weapons have premium ammunition. That is the kind of thing you have to do if you're going for a #1 spot on the leaderboard. Really, there is no way around it. You can get on the leaderboards even without using premium ammo, but if you're going for a #1 run, you're going to have to use premium ammo, because others that are going for a #1 run are also using premium ammo. That is the curse of competitive speedrunning. So anyway, we have our Corsair. We dropped into actually, let's see, a non-human signal source class 5. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some distance, because if the Thargoid starts the fight too close to the green cloud, it's going to move sideways. So it's going to move away from my targeting spot, which makes things harder. Then I rotate so that I have what I call the top of the Thargoid. You can see this sort of like little dot that is like on the top of this HUD display up at the top. That allows me to know where their hearts are mnemonically, because their hearts are always in the same position. They exert in, let's pause for a moment, they exert in a different order, which is random, so you can't predict which heart is going to exert. There's some randomicity to it, but the position of their hearts on the interceptor is fixed. They're always in the same spot. So if you rotate the interceptor so that it's in a known rotation position, you kind of know which hearts are on the pedals and which pedals instead don't have hearts. So then I let it scan me, and I get my own scan. We'll get to a moment where I decide to do the scan later. And then I get some distance. I try to get somewhere between 700 and 800 meters before I open fire. And the reason I get to this distance is because 800 meters, I personally find that with shard cannons is kind of a sweet spot where your the spread dispersal of the pellets is not so wide that you can't really sort of consistently destroy hearts, but at the same time, the sort of ability to move your reticle very quickly across the Goid is significantly improved. If you're kind of literally staring in its face at like 100 meters away, you kind of have to move a pretty significant distance across the screen to move your aim onto the target, especially if you happen to be somewhat off-center and the heart happens to be on the opposite side. Instead, this way, as you can see, there's like an inch of distance between the center of the Thargoid, which I just shot, and the heart, which just exerted. This just relies on reaction time, which for humans is somewhere in a range of 200 to 250 milliseconds, to see how quickly you can sort of move your aiming reticle and shoot down that heart. So let's have a look. That was a good second shot. So I took down that first heart in 2 very quick shots. What I'm gonna do now is something odd. Like, I'm gonna empty my clip in empty space. So I'm gonna shoot not at the Thargoid, I'll shoot completely away from the Thargoid. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because if I shot at the Thargoid, I would get its hull so low that it would trigger prematurely a panic shield, which then I would have to burn through. So it would actually slow me down. However, I do want to have a full clip for when the shield comes up. Well, not the shield comes up. For when the next heart becomes exertable, the shield still isn't going to come up for a while until after we destroy that first shield. And as a result, I am emptying my clip so that by the time the next heart can be exerted, I'm going to have a full clip. So this is what you're going to see me do. And here, what I do is I turn on silent running and I pop a couple of heat sinks. I pop a couple of heat sinks to keep my heat manageable. I engage silent running because I want to make sure that the Thargoid does not detect me by heat. And since I'm going to be firing weapons at a crazy high rate, there's no way that I can make the Thargoid not detect me by heat by just using heat sinks. I need to do something more than that, and the more than that thing that I do is using silent running. Using silent running shuts your emission down to an absolute minimum, which can mean that you're only detected at the minimum detection range of a ship, which for The Corsair is somewhere in the 600 meters or so. So don't get too close, because you're still going to get detected if that is the case, and then your fight is going to go sideways. But so long as you stay away from that distance. By the way, at the end of the fight, I actually do get detected, and you can see me triggering it in a moment. But so long as you have silent running enabled, you will not get detected unless you cross that minimum threshold, which will allow you to hit this thing while it's kind of like confused as to where you have gone, because it's kind of effectively blind as to where you are. The flip side of silent running, as most of you will probably know, or at least some of you will know, is that firing weapons in silent running generates a dishuman amount of heat, which for a longer fight can be problematic, but for a fight that is intended to last about 30 seconds is totally manageable. Like at the end of a fight, you can use the heat sinks that you have left, you get your heat all the way down to 0, you're gonna be okay. You can actually take pretty limited damage. The amount of damage you take does not scale infinitely, like it actually caps. So the fact that you are at 3000% heat or 150% heat is practically the same, except for the fact that obviously you need to reduce 3000 heat takes longer. But anyway, that's what's going on here, and that's what you're seeing with silent running being engaged. As I mentioned, I've emptied my clip. I'm waiting for it to come back, and then as the clips come back, I'm gonna be doing what we in the community call the impossible shot. The impossible shot is landing a shot to destroy the second heart before the first shield of the interceptor pops up, which requires you to be very, very, very fast, especially with Gauss weapons. Mod shards have made the impossible shot a lot more possible, actually. But it's still something that requires you to act on your toes. So it's like getting 2 rounds on target to make sure it exerts, and then hit the heart, hopefully we destroy it in 1 shot. And then the remaining 2 rounds, which I purposely kind of empty my clip to have after all this happens, I'm going to use on the shield. I'm going to use to kind of start working through the shield that pops up after the second heart is destroyed. One final thing. If you manage the impossible shot, because you've destroyed the second heart before first shield has come up, the interceptor will skip its lightning phase chase. Again, this is super advanced tactics and might be going completely all over your head, but this is a little bit of advanced video as far as like speedrunning is concerned, Goid. So I thought I'd share some kind of more advanced tactics. So remember, for the sake of like coming back to planet Earth a little bit, what we're gonna do now in this sort of like next part of the clip is wait through the no exert timer, land a couple of rounds, exert and destroy that heart, and then start burning through the shield. Second heart is down, and now that the shield has come up, I empty my clip again, because again I want a full clip by the time that shield drops. So I empty my shard clip as quickly as possible, and now I start working on it with my rapid fire screening shell pacifiers. This is when the pacifiers come in to kind of blast through that shield as quickly as possible. Note that in this phase, we've also started moving. The interceptor, after you destroy a heart, will try and position itself at exactly 1 kilometer away from you, which means that if you're closer than 1 kilometer, it's actually going to move back. So the interceptor is moving back, but I don't want to lose that much range. So I'm moving forward to try and maintain that 700 to 800 meters range. The problem with that is that at some point it's going to stop moving, and then I also need to stop moving and actually start kind of like braking hard. Otherwise, I'm going to get too close and get detected. So that's what's happening with the movement there. As I mentioned, I'm working through the shield. And this happened really, really fast. So maybe we'll go back and see it again. But like what happened here is, once I do get my shard clip back, I fire 2 rounds on the hull, on the shield to finish blasting through the shield, and then 1 round to exert, and then 1 round to destroy the heart, and then I'm gonna try and save 1 round to start working on the following shield that's gonna come up right thereafter. Again, this is gonna go all very fast, so we'll see that. And see I have this shot, and see how I'm not firing. I'm holding the fire until the shield comes up. And then I used it to drop that shield. Ideally, I could have tried to save an additional shot beforehand and have another 20%, but it's not gonna make a lot of difference because like I'm still gonna be able to kind of like take down this shield in the no exert timer window, so it would not have made the run fast. So now there's only one heart left, and I'm getting really, really, really close. See that distance, 670 meters. I'm getting too close. In fact, you will see in a moment I actually trip the distance, the minimum distance, and I will get detected. When I get detected on the last heart, the interceptor will fire its shutdown field, which is bad news unless you're carrying a shutdown field neutralizer, which you can see in the bottom left of my HUD. I have that mapped to a hotkey because I don't want to be messing with fire groups while trying to, sort of on a reaction basis, react to shutdown fields. So I'm going to be charging the shutdown field to defend myself from the shutdown field, which I trigger in a moment. And as a reminder, you need to hold it, and you need to have power in your system capacitor to use it. Normally, if you're just defending from a shutdown field, you would dump pips from weapon to system to make your shutdown field neutralizer last longer. In this case, I'm speedrunning, so I want to do damage, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the risk of having a relatively short window for which my shutdown field will cover me, but I have the timing down, so I can afford it. In general, if you see a shutdown field, dump pips and sys and hold that button down. So anyway, we are now on the last heart. So what we're going to do now is, again, we're going to work through burning down that shield, and we're going to work to then exert that final heart, destroy it, and ideally, we would love to destroy the heart and the interceptor on the same shot. That is incredibly difficult, and honestly, I think I managed it maybe 2 or 3 times in the thousands and thousands of gourds that I've destroyed in my career. Some of the best runs actually manage that. In this round, I don't manage it, but because I'm so efficient in all the rest of the run, this still will top the leaderboard. But it does show that there's still room for improvement, and you still be able to do better if you were to somehow manage to get that shot. So anyway, let's actually watch what happens. So here, note that I almost distinctly move towards that heart, towards that pedal, because I know based on the shape of the interceptor that that pedal is where the heart is. And this is it. This is the end of the fight. I got it down to 0%, which is kind of where the timer stops. In fact, if you want to be very, very precise, you could sort of make the argument where precisely the time stops. Let's see if I have like a more precise button. I think it's actually on... oh, wrong button. There we go. This is actually a little bit further up as I burn through, and then we'll see it again in sort of like normal speed. This is where I'm gonna exert it. Down, and then one shot, it's already down. Wow, that was fast. Alright. Alright, I think I got one frame over, because there's one frame sooner that it gets to 0%. And see the shots going there, and this is 1, still not 0, but now it's 0. So this is the frame at 1 minute 22 seconds and a half, 989 frames. You subtract that from the frame through which you did the initial damage, which is this one, and it gives you the time of the run, which in this case, and I can tell you because I timed it earlier and updated on YouTube, is 33 seconds and 567 milliseconds, which is remarkable time. Let's watch this in let's watch the end again in real time for a moment. And then it blows up. And then the rest is like, you don't actually... An interesting thing about the rule of speedrunning is you're not actually required to survive. I mean, if you get blown up after you get the bond, technically it still counts. Now, granted, that is kind of disappointing somewhat. So I try always to kind of like get my heat down back to kind of 0 to show that I survived and I was kind of fine. So here I'll skip forward and I'll just show you like that I get my heat down to 0. And yeah, I took 11% hull damage and like some negligible amount of module damage. Let's watch this again once in real time. Here we go. Goes by pretty fast, huh? So this is speedrunning. This is the art of speedrunning. And obviously there's different strategies for different type of interceptors and different types of ship classes. What works in a medium ship doesn't necessarily always work in a small ship or a large ship. So like the beauty of it is actually also finding and testing and making different strategies work for different interceptor variants with different types of ships. So that's speedrunning for you. I hope you found it somewhat interesting. Maybe you learned a thing or two. Glory to mankind. Commando Mechan out.